Hello, good morning, good evening to all the audience who is watching us. This is Rana from Geotech Politics. I am located in Toronto, Canada, and we have been running this podcast to connect the dots for our audience for quite some time now. And every day brings us to a new reality and new dimension that we haven't seen before. Currently, we are seeing unprecedented situation in Asia, especially Pakistan and India, in the context of Pakistan and India, and that is causing a stir around the globe. Our series was mostly focused on the U.S. Tariffs and the changing global world order, but this these changing, these changing political situations are very interesting in the global context. In order to look into this, I have with me, as usual, Khurram Zaberi from Chicago. Assalamu alaikum, Khurram. Thanks for joining. And
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
no day is a boring day these days. Every day is an interesting day. Given this context, that what has happened in Kashmir and the attack, which is has caught the global attention, not only just because it's a tragedy, of course, people lost their lives, but also that Pakistan is under spotlight and everybody is examining Pakistan very closely. It feels like Pakistan is in a very awkward situation. Like what to do about it? Like if somebody puts you, it's just like somebody rings somebody's bell and runs away, and you are standing in front of the door. So you're very awkward. You know what to do? Should you defend yourself? Should you, uh, you know, go on the offense? So can you please try to, um in your view, can you highlight what has happened? Is this attack a real tragedy? Is there any chance that Pakistan is involved, or is it something that is staged by India, or is there a third party involved in this attack?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yeah, the point is that they are. I mean, first of all, like let's start with the beginning. Like, how did it happen? Why did it happen? And all of a sudden, like something like this happened. But you have to actually go back a little bit, like a couple of months ago. So we see quite unrest in Pakistan, and there are like a few instances when the several military personnel has been attacked and killed in Balochistan specifically, and then also repeated in the KP region, and then finally the whole train was hijacked. I mean, a train hijacking is not normal. You can't go anywhere with hijacking a train. I mean, it's not like a plane that you can actually fly from one place to another or take the plane to some other location. I mean, train actually stays on it. Although we have like several movies in which you see that the train's been hijacked and you can control it. So but Jafar Express obviously is one train which goes from Quetta to Peshawar, and then on the way, it was well planned, and then hostages were taken, and that gone on for a while, which almost ended up in, I believe, about 120 people. There are different claims in terms of the lives being taken, but there are like about 120 people. And Pakistan had some reservations that there were elements which were supported by India, or that they were, but Pakistan is being kind of like muted for some time now in order to pinpoint India for any all those instances happening in Pakistan. It used to do that, but it is in a way Pakistan does it is that as a blanket cover, not for the specific instance. So We say like whatever is happening or unrest is happening in Balochistan or the border area of KP is being funded, is being not necessarily trained, but at least funded. And there were elements who actually kind of do the training, used to do the training before the actual Taliban came into power, because there were like a lot of consulates has been built along the border of Pakistan in Afghanistan, and the regime at that time in Afghanistan was quite friendly to and quite had the animosity towards Pakistan. So that was the background, and from that background, obviously, something anything could happen in Pakistan would be actually in India could be actually blamed to Pakistan. That's we see all the time. Now, what is the reason behind it is obviously some of the actual security forces probably would be working on some plan to do something in India. But in this instance, when you actually unfold or unpack exactly how the things happen, it's very, very unlikely that you can actually put together some dot connection in terms of like Pakistan could do it. It happened from the line of control 400 kilometers away. So it's not happened in the valley. It happened in sort of region which is very remote, and it's like a hilly station. It's a touristic destination, and where it happened is not easily accessible. It's not even a road, so you cannot actually get to a place on the road as you would drive. And then it's about 12 kilometers, I think, from the point where you have to leave your car, and then it's a either a jeep track, which is very difficult track for the jeep, but usually they call it a pony trap, like you have to get on the actual mule or horse or something like that to get on it and then ultimately get to the point where it happened. Now, the people from the Kashmir itself, the local residents, even they are saying, how could one person, sorry, three people, the initial, sketches being released, could get to that location with all the ammunition, all the guns they had, AK-47s, and then ultimately kill people, and not just the kill people, but the kill discriminately discriminately in the beginning. The first report came out like they actually checked people by looking whether they were circumcised or not. So it's like, they had all the time in the world to actually check who was what from what religion. And then the story actually changed, that indiscriminate word is being used by the media. But what has been happening, and there was a military camp just literally about 5 kilometers away from the actual location. They didn't respond, police didn't respond for like 3 hours. So FIR was launched. First investigation report was launched, which is according to the British system. Whoever actually had been living in British system would know that there's a police procedure in which the first investigation report, which they call it FIR, is being lodged, whether it's in Pakistan, Bangladesh, or India. So the police actually registered the FIR within 10 minutes. So how did they get the information? Police didn't get there, military didn't get there, but yet they were able to actually launch FIR. So it all points to that there were something cooking, or you can call it a false flag, or at least some people knew that this was going to happen. And then Indian media started shouting out pretty much instantly, straight away, pointing fingers in Pakistan. So that's the background, and that's my
I
analysis.
got it.
Yeah.
No, that's very interesting analysis, Khurram. I haven't heard so far this FIR thing which you have highlighted. This is very uh, particular detail for this incident. Now you mentioned that uh, Pakistan has been muted about the interference what India has been doing allegedly, of course, that the Liberation Army incident in Balochistan. You're referring to the train attack. Was any reason Pakistan did not highlight that to the international media that this has happened? Like you said, roughly 120 people, let's say 100 plus people, were murdered or martyred, or however you want to see this. I mean, there was no fuss about this in the world. Nobody knew if it happened or not. But suddenly this, I think 15 to 20 people were killed or murdered here in this incident, and suddenly we see that the whole global focus has shifted to this incident. So is it kind of a diplomatic failure from Pakistan's perspective? If we look at it, like I said before, it's a very awkward situation for Pakistan to be in. So can we flag this as a diplomatic failure? And we will come to this point later in the conversation, or along with all other diplomatic failures that we see that Pakistan has seen in the recent history. Now, going back to this incident, and laser focusing on this thing, if Pakistan has not, apparently, the way you mentioned that it's a very remote area, no, it's not easy to get there. So allegedly, they're saying that they use some kind of mule or something, some animal to go there to that point. It's not humanly accessible. Somebody dropped them from there, like a helicopter might would have dropped them if there's a remote situation, remote location. Um, Now it's very interesting. So if Pakistan didn't do it, and India, obviously, like India, the point, the finger goes back to India that they have planted this thing to get the global attention. Let's assume this theory. Let's say if India has staged this or orchestrated this event, what would be the objective? Let's say, I mean, I'm just saying hypothetically, if that was the case, what objective they wanted to achieve, and if they achieved that objective or not.
Obviously, they didn't achieve the objective for sure because there is no. I mean, at this point, like I mean, since yesterday afternoon, I'm of that opinion that the conflict is not going to happen. Although up till yesterday afternoon, I was pretty certain, and I was telling pretty much everybody that this has to happen. The things have been cooked up so much, and the heat has gone so high that I mean, literally, it's not going to be possible that, especially from the Indian side, that they can actually back out from it. As for the dropping from the helicopter, it's not possible. I mean, literally, you need a special kind of like really invisible drone which can carry 3 4 people and then ultimately fly into it. And it's not just that they actually got dropped off or somehow got there, but they literally disappeared in the thin air after they conducted all this. There's no clue whatsoever that where are those people. So in that part of the world where roughly, Pakistan, and according to the, few estimates, there are about 700,000 military personnel are there. So, and some say like even a million. So that's the case. And then they claim that it's about 300,000, on Indian side. They claim that. So whatever the number is, like literally, if you go for like about 20 kilometers or 50, 25 kilometers, there would be like at least 10 to 12 checkposts. So you cannot actually move in that area. There are checkposts everywhere. So because of that many concentration of the military personnel. And secondly, if you take those routes, which are hilly area, you actually go behind the road, don't follow the road and everything. It's a long 400 kilometers away. And in the hilly area, if you are going this way, how long is going to take you? How are you going to survive? What kind of like, supply line you're going to have? Were there any local help available? So to the least, I mean, because they needed to point the finger to Pakistan, obviously locals were not used. They are not saying that locals were used. So they didn't come up with this. So they had to produce those people. And there's another way to actually produce those people is to, because they already have like certain people in their, incarceration. So time and again, we have seen that in India have actually released those people and then did that in an encounter. So and when they do the encounters, they say, okay, these people are killed. So maybe like we'll see in few days time that they would try to do that, but it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So logistically speaking, physically speaking, it's not really make any sense whatsoever that it happened. I don't know why they chose that location, because it seemed like that it would be something where the tourist would be. and there they would be able to actually kill them and then disappear from there. But
Got
if
it.
we
But sorry to interrupt you, but I think my what I was trying to focus at. Let's say if we assume this hypothetically that India is behind this. Okay, we have. I think we looked at very deeply that it's very unlikely that Pakistan could be behind this due to these reasons which we have been talking about, and you very methodically pointed out each one of them, like the assistance, the how to reach that, you know,
I was
locality.
coming to, I got your answer. I got your
Yeah,
question. The point is
yeah,
that assuming this, that okay, this is exactly what the script was. India did the
yeah.
false flag, and now they wanted to achieve something from it. So first of all, like we have to look back in the history, like if something like that happened in the history. Yes, it has. So at the time of when the Clinton visited India, I think that was back in 2000. So at that time, Kargil already happened. So you have to understand the timeline of it. Nawaz Sharif was in power, so he was removed. The coup happened because of, we know the history in terms of the actual how he tried to actually take the new army chief and all that. Musharraf came in, so it's the Musharraf's time. So Clinton actually came, and then similar sort of incident happened at that time also. Now, if we see the parallel, same thing happened here. JD was here. We all these like visuals were coming out. Modi was actually playing with the JD's kids. They were wearing shalwar kameezes. They were at the in front of the Taj Mahal and all that. And that would have been like the best, opportunity for India to actually gain from it. That okay, here you go. Uh, so this incident happened because JD by that time was back, and then the whole trip was obviously very fresh in the mind, so they could have expected that okay, JD would be able to actually say something about it. And I'm going to actually touch upon it what he said but and how it's been reported in the media, so that's another thing. So that is one point. Second point is the election is coming, and this election is very unique in terms of that is going to be, they are trying to find out about the caste system. So that news has not been actually in the mainstream media about this caste election. Like, I mean, they're trying to find out like how many, which caste is how many and all that, how many Brahmins are there, how many Dalits are there, and all those kind of things. So that's second thing. Thirdly, Pakistan is very weak at this point in time, and they anything happen to Pakistan, this is the best time to actually attack Pakistan, because it's not doing very well economically. There are fault lines already politically, and the people are kind of dismayed also. So for them to attack at this point in time would be, in their own eyes, it would be easy walkover, or at least they will damage some sort of reputation for Pakistan. So and fourthly, due to the Gaza situation, there is already a precedence available now that if this could be done for the Palestinians, we could do that to Kashmiris also. And there are reports that Israelis has actually supported or sent some enforcements or some equipment to India also. So these are the three, four reasons that they would do that if we assume that.
Very interesting. So basically, if you look at it, it's just throwing Pakistan under the bus at this time by drawing the attention of the world to Pakistan. But at the same time, I think this is very. I mean, hypothetically, if you look at this is very plausible explanation that that India would have planted this or staged this thing to draw the attention and throw Pakistan under the bus. That's a very it's a given. There's no surprise element in this thing that they have done in that in the past. But if you look at the if you zoom out of this situation, you look at the macro level. India is is the next China, right? India, the Apple is going to produce all its iPhones slowly, shift the production to India. India is the alternate to China because China is US most obvious rival, right? And US cannot rely on China anymore. And of course, the companies, all that corporate world, would definitely move to India, and this is happening at this time. There's no There's no like imagination here. It's the reality. Now, if this is the situation and you do stage some this kind of a horrific incident, isn't that you're drawing the attention of the world to the instability of the region, and hence this shift in industrialization of the world to move to India is a risky move. So people should go back to China rather than coming to India. So this has a very high stake if we look at it this if from the Indian perspective, to bring the attention of the world to this matter, that it's very unstable region. And look at the aftermath of this. We have seen that Pakistan is threatening India with nuclear response, where it could be given if the treaty is violated and Pakistan doesn't get the water, which is threatens its existence. And um, Pakistan is openly saying that this will take the fight deeper into the nuclear, you know, nuclear dimension. So this is very worrisome. If you are Apple, or if you are, the Teslas, and you want stability where you want to produce your products, it doesn't sound good to you. So how would you see this counter argument?
There are multiple points. Okay, there's not one point, and this is the natural conclusion what you just said. So that's a really good point, and I've been saying that to Indians also, because they are not accepting this fact. I kept on telling them, like, you have GDP grown up to like $4 trillion. All these new companies are coming in. Why would you do that? Why would you escalate to this level? And it's not Pakistan, because they actually heated up so much. Like, if you look at the Indian media, like, I've never heard that kind of rhetoric. Although it happened at the time of Bombay, it happened in 2014, and many times it happened, but not with that intensity that will kill you, will burn you, will cut you off, will this, that. I mean, some of the actual anchors actually gone to a level where they actually started swearing on the national media. Is just crazy, literally. So I was of that opinion that is bound to happen, because there is no turning back from that point. Now, to the bigger question, that why would you do that with all that? I think when I thought about it, that, why would India would jeopardize all this image? I think for that you have to understand, like, now India is building this foundation. It's at the foundational level. It's not just like raising the walls at this point in time. So you have to understand the foundation, what they are actually building. As long as Pakistan is there with this full capability, um, I don't think it's going to be an easy ride for Pakistan, because, with China rising economically and for the very first time is not actually budging, although Trump is saying that Trump, I'm going to negotiate with China, but China is not even taking a call. They are not initiating the call unless Trump does that. So Trump has to pick up the phone and talk to President Xi. So in that backdrop, India thinks that it's going to be sandwiched. Literally, it's going to be sandwiched. Now, Bangladesh is independent, came out of its influence. Now, India is surrounded by three sides with unfriendly nations. Pakistan being on the top, and then China being China, and now Bangladesh is kind of like putting up a good front. So in this scenario, India has to put this foundation right, and it just keep on just going in circles. So why would it take Pakistan at this point? Is because they thought that they militarily has um, created this or achieved this super status as compared to Pakistan. Because in 2019, what has happened, that has actually gone to a level where Pakistan actually, besides all these numbers India has, like in terms of the tanks and planes and missiles and helicopters and all that, they have amassed all of it. Yet Pakistan was able to actually drop down two planes, and they fired themselves on the helicopter. So three main vehicles were came down, and Pakistan captured the actual pilot. So that's the understanding you have to you have to have in order to actually deconstruct this. Since 2019, India realized that they do not have the supremacy militarily over Pakistan besides the numbers because of the equipment. So they actually bought Rafale. When they bought the Rafale, which is not just fourth generation, but it's 4.5 generation, we can say. So it's less than fifth generation, but is somewhat above fourth generation. They realized that, and they were building up. They knew that if unless we actually raise up our military equipment and go militarily, we won't be able to actually take up Pakistan. So that was the one reason. Secondly, they have got the S-400 now. So in 2021-22, they have got like about a few battalions of S-400s, and that was the defense against Pakistan's missiles. Now, in the meantime, Pakistan knew that they are getting S-400. So what Pakistan did was they actually started focusing on their lower range missiles, which is Hataf, which only goes up to 160 kilometers, and it flies very low, and cannot be taken out by the S-400s, as per military analysts. So there go the whole equation. So now on the defense side and offense side, both sides are kind of gone back. On Rafael side, what they did was about 48 hours ago. So I'm talking about like yesterday afternoon before. So about day before that, they actually flew a couple of Rafales, and they flown by the border. Literally, they didn't cross the border, but they actually flown by that. But Pakistan detected it and made those planes literally blind. What they did in 2019 also. So I don't know. Pakistan has got some genie in the bottle that they can actually blind the pilots. So I don't know if that came from China, that equipment, or they indigenously developed, but they actually have the capability to, blind those pilots by jamming their radars. So if you are blind, then you can't do anything. Doesn't matter where you're going to fire. Where are you going to fire if you can't see that? So there are like multiple things happen because of that. Like military probably, hands up and said we can't do that. And another third thing is about 6-7 years ago, there was an instance when the actual Indian submarine actually came into Pakistani's water just to check it out. And then instantly, like literally within few minutes, Pakistan actually, got on the hotline and said like, okay, go back or remove it unless we shoot it down. So on the water side also, they detected the submarine, which is very difficult to actually do that.
These are
So
the
on
logistics and operational details we're talking about. Now,
this
yeah,
everything is based on these operational details, because
yeah.
unless India has that capability that it can take out or give or seriously damage Pakistan, it cannot actually function on the premise that they can take out. So that's the longer version of your question, but this is what the reason is.
No, I got it. But I think what I was trying to go with my question was the objective. I think we still, at least I'm not clear about the objective. If let's we assume that India is behind, India staged this thing, as we talked about, that India is at a very critical stage where it is getting all the attention and all the investments. As you said, the GDP has grown tremendously. There's no match with Pakistan anymore. It is entirely different league. Why India would stage such an attack where it can ruin its progress? Now, this brings me to this naturally the question:
Basic.
Isn't yeah, yeah,
Sorry for the
sure,
introduction, but the point is that those operational details you are not interested in, but
yeah,
those are the very details has got the answer for it.
okay.
I gave the answer. India thought that they could actually correct the foundation. They can give the serious damage to Pakistani side, and if that was done, then ultimately they would give a lesson to Pakistan that okay, you are no more, and you cannot be or give the this message to the rest of the world that Pakistan is no more a hassle for us. Now we and China are the two adversaries now going to be fighting over this. So
Okay,
you have
so
to
I think,
that's
yeah,
where the answer lies.
I think that what you are trying to say is to give it Pakistan a knockout punch. That's what you mean. That
Correct, correct. So one
to
one one
yeah.
major problem I told you that is
Mhm,
being surrounded by three. So if you take care, Bangladesh is not that strong yet, so it's a nuisance. But Pakistan is a nuisance for India. That all of a sudden, like Pakistan can actually create a serious damage for India, and they
mhm.
have to take care of it
Okay,
before they actually get go lift off.
so let me put this on the chessboard. So, based on this assumption that India is behind this, and they carefully staged this thing to create a situation like what happened in Israel, 8th of October, that an attack happened and then they got a free hand to whatever they wanted to do to poor Palestine who did not have the capability or the army and all of that, which of course there's no comparison to Pakistan. Pakistan is a nuclear power. Pakistan is not like a Palestinian state. So if this was the assumption that they want to not give Pakistan a knockout punch and take this nuisance out of the picture, I think it was very premature and very childish to think about that. That you suddenly, after this incident, you realize that oh, our capabilities are not still. We do not cannot deliver the knockout punch because whatever we do, Pakistan has a counter response to that. I think the meetings which Modi had with his team, maybe he did not have the time for these meetings before, and maybe he
No,
came to
no, you have to understand this. This cannot be tested. Like you cannot
yes,
preempt that, okay, or assume that. This can only be tested in a wartime situation. So you have to
yes.
understand this. You cannot ascertain that now we have superiority in terms of the air superiority and air defense mechanism in place unless you test it. You without
No,
testing, you
no, no.
cannot do that.
So,
Yeah.
I think that's where we need to look at things more technical from the technical perspective. We have heard, like I have read a couple of articles and um, looked into this detail where their own army generals, retired generals, or out of service, they know how what are the capabilities of army, Indian army, have clearly mentioned that this is a very well-known fact in Indian army that India doesn't have any edge over Pakistan. It's like a punch for a punch. You know, you give a punch, you will get a punch back. There's sorry, you're on the mute. You're on the mute.
Sorry about that. That's
Yeah.
not correct. they
Okay.
they want to give out this message, but they are
Mhm.
not able to give this message. That's the problem.
Mhm.
Because you know what has been happening. First of all, it's safely to presume, and I'm again saying presumption, there is some equipment is being handed over to Pakistan by China. Now, this is we know for a fact that JF Thunder 17 is being developed jointly, but Pakistan now also have J10s, which is equivalent to Rafale. It's almost 4.5G generation. Um, and it's not just about the actual aeroplane itself. Now you have to have the right missile for it. So now what has happened now is coming to the light, and literally where it's coming from is coming from the South China Morning Post, which is obviously the mouthpiece of China. That it gave PL-15 to Pakistan. Now, if Pakistan has PL-15 loaded up on J-10 or J-17 even,
PL is a
literally
missile. PL is a missile system
is
for
a,
the
is a air-to-air missile system, okay?
air to ground as well, right? Air to ground.
No, air-to-air.
Air to okay.
Effectively, what you are talking about is that you can shoot down every single plane which is going to fly off their any of the airport. So Pakistan would have achieved the capability now, and that's like just literally about 15, 16 hours ago, like it came to the news. But before that, obviously that was shifted a long time ago, maybe like a week ago or 10 days ago or whenever it has happened. So Pakistan has those missiles now. So Pakistan can actually shoot down deep down in about 250 kilometers. Any plane would fly on or lift off, and Pakistan has the capability to actually shoot them down. So in a conventional way, in a fourth generation plane, what happens usually? You have a dogfight, and in a dogfight, you actually shoot down while you are looking at the plane, right? So you have to have a plane in sight, and then you lock it and fire it. Now, in this PL-15 case, you don't have to have eye of sight. You're just flying, and you haven't even crossed the border. As long as you know, or and your radar is telling that Indian planes are coming up or flying on, and the moment it gets certain elevation, at that point in time, it comes into the radar, and then you just shoot it, and 250 kilometers away from you. So imagine if India flies like about 25 or 30 planes and they all get shot down. Effectively, what message you gonna give to the world that Pakistan, before you shot down in 2019 two planes, now if you shoot down another 15, 20 of them in the Indian airspace, that is just such a knockoff that India wouldn't be able to actually rise up from it
No, I
militarily.
got it.
So
So I
that's
think
what the perspective is.
yeah, no, definitely. But I think I'm still missing that key piece here, piece of the puzzle, that if India staged this, so are we saying that India was not aware of Pakistan's capabilities?
No,
They
they were
wanted.
not aware of it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
They were not literally not aware of it. Otherwise, they
Okay.
wouldn't have got to a point where they have create this hysteria. Literally, it was a rhetoric in first 2 days. In
Hmm.
next 2 days, it's converted into a hysteria. So now we are into fourth day, and for fourth day onwards, up till yesterday or day before, it was touching the boundaries of lunacy.
Hmm.
Literally, it was just like the words were coming out. I told you, some of the actual anchors were like actually swearing on the mainstream media. So it was crazy like talk going on that as if like it was something which was unheard of. I at least I have seen their anchors actually talk sanely, but and taking balanced view and everything. Here they were like just crazy, having like some punching on the screen, even on the cameras. So that's the perspective. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so that's a very interesting perspective that India was not aware of Pakistan's capabilities, so they tried to create the situation where they could have this advantage, where they could give Pakistan a knockout punch and eradicate this problem of instability from the region so that they could advance smoothly to become a next China, next global South power, right? So that's like a hypothesis. But what about the third party? Is there any third party involved? So if you talk to anybody on the street and tell them that the situation is this, the finger naturally goes to obviously to China. Is it possible that China sitting behind, because China is losing the industry now? If Apple is going to move all the factories from China to India, that's a big blowback, the economically and also morally as well, that their factories are going to India. So isn't that obvious that China has like China is one of the beneficiary of this incident. Let's say if we now rule out this hypothesis that India staged this and India wanted to check Pakistan's
we
capabilities,
are
which
we
is
are not
to be
ruling
well
out.
covered.
No, we
No,
cannot
no,
rule this out.
I'm just saying for the hypothetical conversation that if we rule out that India is was not behind it. India was aware of Pakistan's capabilities. India knew that they cannot put a knockout punch. They did not do it. They did not stage it. And obviously, the next hypothesis which we're going to talk about, if China was involved behind this incident, obviously they had some advantages coming out of this. An advantage is to laser focus on this region where it highlights that India is not a stable country. India cannot protect itself, and any investment going into India would have would be very risky. So, is there any history of China or any third country doing such a situation, which is seems very
I
obvious?
mean, any third country could do it, but for China, it's highly improbable. I mean, we haven't seen these kind of operations by China, at least in recent times. So for me, it's very difficult to digest that China would actually initiate something, because China hasn't proven ever, whether it be like in the mainstream media or reports or anything, that physically going into another territory and doing something. I mean, somebody has to actually come up and give me an example that China has actually gone in somewhere and did this kind of operation. They so much so that this proxy concept. Like I mean, they were having a major trouble. Like if you look at the Xinjiang region, for instance, um, they had the militancy going on, supposedly in their own words, and they suppress Muslim Uyghur population so much that nothing can come out of it. Actually, I was in DC just a few days ago, and I bumped into one, and she was saying that she hasn't communicated to her relatives for past 6 years. I mean, literally for 6 years, there's no communication. Like, I mean, literally not through the phone, social media, or anything. So, but we did not see China going into Turkmenistan and doing some operations to kind of like, take those elements out. And like, for instance, if you look at Mongolia, if you look at Indian side of it, if that was to happen, or they were serious in doing so, they would do in mainland, not in Kashmir, because Kashmir is an area where obviously is still disputed, and is divided among three countries now, as we know now, geographically. One is Pakistan, and second is India, and third also, Aksai Chin, is controlled by China. So they
Hmm.
can come in from there, Aksai Chin side. But again, there's no precedence that China would go into another boundary, even though it was a de facto boundary. So, yeah, it
So
would be
okay,
difficult
so
for me to
so
digest.
I think you're saying there's no precedent in the history that China
No
has done
precedent
this
China
sort
going
of thing.
into. Yeah.
So there's no precedent that China losing its power as well, their industry going to India as well. So
It's
there's
not
no.
that. I mean, we know if China has to do that, China would go as a BRI. They would just go somewhere, they would put the infrastructure, and they would indebt people. So we know that.
Okay,
But at the same
okay,
time, like actually physically doing something which falls in the region of militancy, I don't think China would do that unless
got
we
it.
see a this. Yeah.
But we have a clear, what should I say, um, the resistance group, whatever it is called, which took the responsibility on Twitter and accepted that they are behind this attack. So there is a possibility that some third power, let's say China or somebody else, was using this resistance group to instigate this incident, and they did this thing. And that interestingly, that resistance group came after 4 days, came to be aware, let's say, and spoke about it, that their account was hacked. So this is very interesting. Like, if this was not already too complex, this switch of, um, first accepting this, taking the responsibility, and then going back and saying that, no, this was a mistake. Somebody hacked our account and posted this after 4 days. So there's a glitch here. Obviously, if you are a resistance group, you had so many other means to come out and say that we didn't do it at the very time, rather than relying on your Twitter handle. So obviously, there's something, some piece is missing. What do you say about that one?
Yeah, again, I mean, for some group to do that, I mean, again, you have to look at the ground reality, like what exactly is happening, what has happened, how you have to, first of all, dissect the incident, which we did. I mean, somebody has to actually bring in the valid argument in order to actually see that how is it happening. Now, any third party, other than the actual, nation state, on the governmental level, I simply do not see that had the capability to actually operate on in a way and disappear in a thin air, because India is not able to actually kind of capture them. They have to
Just for
either
doing
do.
search operation. I think they're doing this brutal search operation where they are killing and humiliating people and trying to
They
find these
have,
people. I guess.
I mean, 3 days ago, the total number was 2,000. They arrested about 2,000 people. The same thing they do over and over again. Now you can, get something out of anybody that okay they did that, and they could parade them in front of the media. Um, so that's very easy for them. But the point is that logically speaking, I mean, where did these people go? Like, I mean, unless they have like days and days of, supply, sorry, some food to actually rely on, and they dug up their graves and they are hiding underneath the ground for things to calm down and then disappear and then come out and then try to go somewhere. So I seriously do not see, and the military has in Kashmir has such a equipment that they have the night vision, they have like some special radars, they have the communication, they have like all sorts of equipment available to them. So for them to not monitor, they even have the heat guns, like heat binoculars. They can actually see if there's a squirrel moving in the trees. And yet they were not able to actually see three people with the guns.
Yeah. So moving from that now onwards, we hypothetically saw all the all the possible scenarios: Pakistan behind it, India behind it, China behind it, or maybe any third party behind it. Now let's just focus on Pakistan. After this awkward situation, we see that couple of very unusual interviews by the defense minister. One of them is by the defense minister, of course, and coming out on the media and saying, acknowledging that Pakistan has been like doing this dirty work. We have been talking so far in this conversation that Pakistan cannot be behind it because these are the factors. It's impossible. It's not operationally possible to have these people sent there. Now the defense minister coming on here and acknowledging this thing that Pakistan has been doing this dirty work for USA, for America, and for the rest of the world for several years. Now, is this a diplomatic failure, or is like a spitting out something that you should not be talking about? Like, like how do you see this thing? This is a failure, I think, at a large scale.
Yeah, I don't think it's a failure. It's actually, you know, debacle. It's like incompetency. It's like, dumbness. I don't know. Like, go on thesaurus and just try to look for, just type dumb and
Synergistically.
then see how many words come up with the intensity in it. This is the very same guy, literally, said all those kind of things like about 6 7 years ago about military. So like undermining the military capability all along. This is the guy. And who is the defense minister now? So when the defense minister is going to actually speak, it doesn't have any credibility. It doesn't matter what he says. And yet he goes and doing, I mean, some stupidity. I mean, literally, there's no way you can actually explain this like more than stupid. To say that okay, we've been doing that for 30 years, might as well have done it. It's like it's crazy. Why would you go on the international media and say such a thing? I mean, unless they don't know how to express themselves in another language. That's what seems to be more like it, because they think they can speak English, but at the same time they cannot actually convey their meaning for it or know the ultimate outcome of it, like what is going to mean what I say. So I think they shouldn't be actually. Modi did the same thing. Modi actually came here and then he wouldn't speak English, and then even the English was translated into another English, so Trump could understand it. Do that. Why would you choose to give an interview if you cannot actually convey the meaning what you're trying to say? So I think it's dumb upon dumb, and dumb and numbers are actually running the country at the moment. Now this information minister come out at the middle of the night and gives a timeline that between 24 to 36 hours India is going to attack. We have got the credible intelligence. So they are just like beyond like stupid. I seriously don't get it. I even did the post about it. Like, okay, I mean, literally you have to, investigate. You have to do it. What does it mean? Next day, within 4 hours, the stock market goes down 1,900 points. And then in the next 4 hours, by the close of the business, it was 3,500 points went down in Pakistan because of his statement. Why would you come out at 2 o'clock in the morning and do this? uh, Read out and pre-written statement, and that statement was he was reading from the prompter and could not even pronounce certain words out of those. Like, if you can't pronounce the English words, then don't use it, like say in Urdu. So he was actually telling that. Another thing you have to understand, that whenever in Pakistan, like somebody says something in English, that means they are actually, their primary audience is the West. So if they are saying in Urdu, that means its primary audience is in Pakistani. So that's another clue right there that he wasn't talking to Pakistan, he was talking to actually West. Now, when you send this message to the West, effectively, yes, there's going to be English speaker understanding it. Next morning, the newspaper is going to actually publish this big, even Urdu ones. They published this news title that Pakistan is going to war within 24 to 36 hours. What's going to happen to the business? What's going to happen to the people? I mean, people are totally chilled. I mean, I have never seen people enjoying any incident in Pakistan ever with this such a vigor that they are making memes left, right, and center. They are joking around. They are making posts. They are saying when it's going to happen. We are waiting for it. It's so long. They've been doing it and it hasn't happened yet. When is going to happen? It's as if like the Eid is tomorrow or when Eid is going to happen. It's a similar sort of feeling when there's a moon sighting. That okay, whether it's going to be Eid tomorrow or the day after. So Pakistanis were like really chilled. I don't know how, but it was a great sign, and that probably put off India a big time. Look at these people, what they are doing. They are joking around, and on the Indian side, it was like literally the fire was coming out of their mouth, and that was there every single person on their side. So there was a real contrast between the two sides, and I think uh, failure on the governmental part, totally 100%. They were the most fail in actually conveying the diplomatic message that what exactly was happening. And West didn't even notice it up till like 2 days ago because they were just chilled. And up till the point when Pakistan actually did conduct the military exercises, they were not serious. Even the West was not serious. And we can go on those some of the headlines. What happened a couple of days ago and last two
Got it.
days. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was so we talked about the failures. Are there any successes like that? Do we see that Pakistan successfully came out of this mess as a victorious? Because we have seen a series of press conferences where I think Pakistan is showing the world some videographic imagery to prove that India has been playing a significant role in terrorist incidents in Pakistan. So I think if we look at it, that's kind of a good thing because now the shame is back on India rather than if we think about that India was putting Pakistan under the bus, they are under the bus at the moment because Pakistan did not talk about these interferences and took it as normalcy, right? India interferes in Pakistan, and let's say Pakistan interferes in India. It's a normal relationship between these two countries. But due to this incident, in highlighting of this incident, now India's evil deeds are in spotlight as well. Now, if Pakistan would be answering India's investigation questions, India has to answer the questions for Pakistan as well. So they have leveled the ground where now India is feeling very awkward that how they were gonna answer if there's a third party, let's say US is intermediary and they are trying to settle this matter. Now India has to answer those questions with those proofs which Pakistan has presented. So we can say that that's kind of a success from Pakistani perspective. At least they bounced back and gave something for India to consider before they can, keep elevating these allegations.
Look,
Moving, yes, you want to
for
say something?
just on particular point, like look, success and failures, it doesn't matter what incident happens, that incident has the repercussions, and those repercussions, like obviously there are certain things that have been established on Pakistani side. Like Pakistan, for instance, before this incident, it was all, fault lines all over and over again. Like military was seen as an entity which actually kind of putting people behind bars. They have no access to the bail. Their relatives cannot actually visit them. uh, Imran Khan, former prime minister, is behind the bar, incarcerated for like whatever time, and his supporters are on the street. They are not allowed to on the streets. Political fault lines are very visible. There is a joint opposition who is going to be actually on the streets. Balochistan is kind of in turmoil. KP is kind of controlled but unstable. Now, because of this incident, obviously, there are still people who still think the same, but there are like some neutral people who were actually thinking that, okay, fine, up till this point or up till this matter is settled, we are fully behind the at least military, if not the actual current administration. So, from that perspective, yes. Another success, probably the testing of military equipment. Probably Pakistan wouldn't have actually got the PL-15 missiles if this incident wouldn't have happened. Now Pakistan has those because it's been provided, and maybe for the future there's more in the pipeline. From that perspective, so politically, socially, militarily, I think Pakistan benefited a lot. Now, from that point, but failure side, I've already told you, they are the most incompetent competent people in the helm of affairs at the moment. Yes, military to an extent kind of like acted in a professional manner, but they could not really say with strength. Like, for instance, when the military was saying that India was putting people behind the bars, and put a blocking the YouTube channels, or so Pakistani, when he was saying it, he could not back it with actions, because they did the same thing. Like, for instance, the Twitter is banned in Pakistan, and all the political opponents are behind the bars. They are putting they are not letting certain narratives to come out. So that is a weakness, and they have to do something about it. They have to
Okay,
actually kind of, I have reason with them.
got
Yeah.
it. So, what matters to Pakistan the most at this point? So, we saw that the successes and failures, let's say advantages and disadvantages. Disadvantages, we all already know that Pakistan was thrown under the bus. Everybody wanted to, pinpoint Pakistan for these kind of terrorist activities and label Pakistan such. But on the positive side, we were like, we can say that Pakistan was divided, but due to this incident, Pakistan got united. Even Imran Khan issued a statement from the behind the bars that for India we should all be united against India, and that brought everybody on the same page. So obviously there are advantages and disadvantages, but what matters to Pakistan the most at this time, given now this Kashmir incident is over, and now uh, we can look into this question that what will happen after this incident. If there would be any military action from India or not. We can get to that question next. But right now, Pakistan, given the economy of Pakistan you know, is not that great. Political instability is there. Nobody is investing in Pakistan and eager to invest in Pakistan at the moment. So, given all of this, what matters to most? What matters to Pakistan the most at this time? Countering India, and uh, proving that they are innocent, uh, changing their internal political structure, the system which is running Pakistan at the moment, or status quo. So, what matters to Pakistan the most at this time?
I mean, thing if you actually see that what's going to be happening like a month down the line, I think the most important thing is obviously the economy. and Pakistan already is in the IMF program and struggling to actually get there. So Pakistan actually achieved a lot from this, and which it can build on, because it's not just about China, that China actually supplied some military, but also Turkey and Azerbaijan came in majorly. Like, I mean, they were not even requested, but they sent all their support. They were like, if Pakistan were attacked, they were probably sending their all their ships. So they came out. I mean, unlike Arab countries, for instance, we didn't hear a single word from them, although there were like some talks over the phone and those kind of things happened, but there was no public support. But unlike them, Turkey and Azerbaijan was like, okay, we are just two nations, one, both for both of them, two countries, one nation kind of a concept, because Pakistan supported Azerbaijan on the conflict with Armenia. And also Turkey has been long standing. Bangladesh even was hiding with Pakistan. Was public support was like was you could see it apparent, very apparent. So from that perspective, I think Pakistan gained a lot. From this point onwards, I think Pakistan should build up on it. And I think my suggestion would be, and I keep on saying this, that now is the time that I think this the very first thing needs to be done is to actually remove those political fault lines. Those are killing country big time, and is a major hindrance in order for Pakistan to actually kind of excel for or come out of this turmoil. It won't be able to come out of this turmoil as long as there are political fault lines are there. Everybody is just like cooking their own meal, and those meals are not tasty at all. Like they are missing major,
So basically, you are
ingredient.
saying free Imran Khan.
It's not just about Imran Khan. Is this feeling of uh, not accomplishing anything? Like there's no hope in people right now. So it's not just about Imran Khan. Imran Khan has become a symbol for those people. But at the same time, you have to have a vigor, passion. Okay, I can go through this even if there's a difficult time. If my electricity bills are huge, or like I'm having a difficult time right now, there is a hope that there's going to be a good time in front of us. Or if there's not a good time, at least this struggle is worthwhile. That's the feeling in common people. So you have to give the hope to the people. And unless you do that, you doesn't matter. Those going to be like very artificial steps you're going to be taking in terms of the actual, we have got the program. Inflation is this much, and this much money has come in, and deficit is decreased down to this much, and we are holding the dollar. It hasn't, crossed certain point. All those are like numbers, but at the same time, what people are feeling right now, ask them, and don't put any restriction on telling you the truth, and you'll know exactly what the people are feeling. So I think we have to give them hope. We have to give the hope to the nation that okay, this is whatever it is, and then it should be some pathway to that. If it cannot be done right now, what is the timeline? Is it going to go on for another 3 years? Is it going to go on for like another 6 years like that? What is the plan? By giving false hopes is not going to actually work for Pakistan.
Yeah, 100%. I think I totally agree with that part. The hopelessness is one of the uh, prevalent
Yeah,
sentiment.
I think is the key. This is the one factor. I think. How would you give hope that okay, the normalcy in the life, how is going to pan out? How is going to unfold? That's the key. How are you going to give the hope unless there's a political fault line has been removed?
Sure, absolutely. I think this is putting hopes of the youth in Pakistan, and this might be the answer to the question which we were asking, that Pakistan has been very chill in this war situation. Maybe they have become insensitive to this
Right.
situation where they feel that the injustice in Pakistan, or political, uh, you know, putting opponents behind the bars, they are not able to express themselves. So they kind of hopeless kind of a situation. So that we saw this too many memes about the war, which is not normal from a normal nation to talk about like that. So this To conclude this conversation, Khurram, we looked at this thing, I think, very comprehensively in past 1 hour, and still, I think about 7 or 8 days have passed, and there has been no retaliation from India. So there has been a sense of kind of cooling down a bit, because even the Indian media has downgraded this event, and now they are diverging to other issues in India. From Pakistani side, it has always been the case, but there are a lot of press briefings and whatnot. What is happening? Do you think? I think you have answered this question indirectly. But do you think there would be any retaliation by India at this point in next 2 to 5 days over this, or they're gonna prolong this thing and have this sense of insecurity looming their borders?
Actually, a couple of good articles has been read on this particular topic that India would choose to actually drag this for longer period of time. It's in their interest to keep the tensions going. Um, I would just bring in one element which was really surprising for me. And I think it makes sense. So, for instance, if you look at the CNN, what the AP reported or BBC is reporting, they are kind of tilting towards that the Vance gave some imbalanced statement, imbalance in a way that he's saying that US hopes that Pakistan cooperates with India against Pakistani based militants. So that's how the Reuters see it. But when we actually look at the Indian side, the India reports it entirely differently, and that's where the I think little understanding you can actually extract from it. So the way India sees it, India says US backstabs India, shields Pakistan. JD Vance's shock message to Modi on Palgam revenge. So that's really in contrast with what mainstream media in the West is saying. So India sees it that US actually backstabbed it. Now, if you look at it from this perspective, then uh, India is also at the same time giving a message to US that unless you wholeheartedly support us like you did to Israel, we are not going to be standing in front of China. So this is like built up, like there's a lot can be extracted from it. I'm just like given you such a contrast between the two. And this is, I'm talking about Times of India. It's not like, Republic TV or something. This is Times of India saying that. And on the other hand, if you go on the CNN and Reuters, they are saying that the JD is saying Pakistan should, Pakistani based militants. So is indirectly accusing that there are militants who are Pakistani based and help India in order to eradicate that. But India do not see this. It just totally bad.
Hmm.
I mean, this is like a very extreme version of it. The way you portraying it, that U.S. backstabbed India. So I
Yeah.
think answer to your question is like, yeah, they would try to get US on board. And JD was there like literally a day before, up till day before a 4 day long visit, because his wife is Indian and she wanted to visit her family and all that. But at the same time, uh, the turmoil, I think, in a muted way would go on. Pakistan would try to get its benefit. India is going to probably just keep this. And another thing on this particular point, lastly, is India began this whole thing with the 5 point. Oh, sorry, it's about 6 points. The top one was the Indus Water Treaty. So what is happening at the moment? Is it like you are not adhering to it? Are you going to actually fill up your dams? You're not going to let the water come in into Pakistan? Are you going to do those actions? Are you going to release the water without any precaution or like any intimidation? Then what's going to happen? So maybe this would go on, and also the number of diplomats has been actually decreased on both sides. There's no visa. I mean, they deported Pakistanis. How long the air corridor is going to be blocked also. So Pakistan is not letting Indian planes to fly over, or India is not. letting the Pakistani planes fly over. So those kind of actions, will they ever, or if they ever, in what timeline is going to be reversed? So that's also a bigger question mark.
Sure, absolutely. I think this was a rundown of this whole incident. We have been waiting on to get this narrative out, our opinions out to our audience. It took us some time, but definitely we can further investigate this incident. Investigate in a sense to look at all sides and analyze this incident and what would be the consequences. It's very interesting. I think this is one of the very complex incident that has happened in the recent history, at least as far as I am concerned. We have seen Gaza, which was very obvious retaliation, what was done to Israel in October 8, what Israel did as a consequence. But this is a very complex incident, which we have looked at it from all angles. We try to look at it. Third party, Pakistan, India, any other force doing this, and this whole um, mess of this political in Pakistan, from Pakistan's response, India's response, and US response. It's very interesting. It's still a developing story in my view, and personally, I believe that there would be some retaliatory action from India that has to happen to give them the face saving. Actually, Pakistan's defense minister pointed to that do something and get over with it, because Pakistan thinks that Pakistan cannot take this thing over a longer period of time. Pakistan is not economically stable enough that it can sustain this pressure for long. And that's what I think the reason India wants to prolong it, so that it can damage Pakistan's economy for longer and bring to its knees.
I don't think on this particular point, I don't think like Pakistan's economy is going to be like, I mean, it's already has slowed down so much that it's not have like a lot of imports and exports going on. Those going to go on. IMF program is there. They'll be able to actually sustain. I think Pakistan was a lot worse, like literally about 8 months ago, in a situation where we were actually touching almost the actual bankruptcy. But the real which cannot be which cannot help India in a longer period of time. I mean, if there was a closure to it, as I said, the bottom line is the military capability. So those
Mhm.
two things India was relying on, Rafale and S-400s, are both neutralized, are literally neutralized. And in Rafale's case, like when the Rafale actually came to the border, I told you that was tested, and without that, I mean, is the PL-15 is going to go away? It's not going to go away. Pakistan, or I mean, already has it. They're probably going to have more. And as long as Pakistan has got J-10s and J-17s with the PL-15, they are sitting ducks. They literally, their airplanes are the sitting ducks. The moment they rise up, they're going to be gone. So is
Basically, it's a
that
stalemate
situation?
in this situation.
It's a stalemate. So as long as Pakistan has that equipment, I mean, is that what other option India has in a longer period of time? In 2 months' time, 3 months' time, are they going to have F-35s? That's the key. If India has the capability to get F-35s, and America actually says, "Here you go, you're going to be the first country we're going to give you the F-35s," uh, then Pakistan ultimately has a one up in a way that China has to do something about it, or Pakistan has to do something about it. And China actually openly came out like about I think his Foreign Minister Wang actually said this. I don't remember exactly when it was done, but it was like about a year and a half ago. He said Pakistan doesn't have to worry about his defense anymore, because if that is going to be attacked or something is going to happen, we'll be taking care of it. What did that mean? We have seen it now. It's not about like China actually sending its military or something. It's actually supplying those equipment to Pakistan. And it's not just about the equipment, but also the technology. Like, I mean, JF Thunder 17 is built on the Chinese technology, and previously also. So I think in the longer run, your consider the turmoil and consequences. I don't think India can achieve much out of this by prolonging it for next 2 3 months. Yes, internally and politically, maybe it's going to benefit it, but it's going to be more damaging that they have actually raised up stakes so high that now if you back up or slightly get stagnated, the internally people going to think that, okay, what a joker. What have you done? I mean, what were we fighting for? And why we were making all those videos of the planes and all that and publishing that.
Very interesting, Khurram. I think this was pleasure talking to you about this incident in quite a detail. And definitely once when we meet next time, and hopefully soon, this Sunday afternoon Eastern time, we might the situation might be a little different, and then we can talk about it further. Else, we are open for suggestions from our audience. We want you to chime in and let us know if you want to talk about or be part of a discussion with us on a particular topic. We are open for that. So we have a channel on YouTube as well where you can see this streaming video. It's called Geotech Politics. You can subscribe to that channel and be updated for the future episodes. With that, Casey, thank you so much. I know it's about midnight at your end. It's already 1 a.m. at my side. And thanks for joining and appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, and stay safe. We'll talk again. Take care.
Allah Hafiz.